Welcome to the Birth Protectors Podcast. I'm Rahelios.
And I'm Celeste, and we are bringing in a father's perspective on home birth.
Have you ever thought about what the birth experience is like from your baby's point of view? I mean, you always hear about the mom's point of view and the mom's perspective and mom's choice and mom's everything. Rarely you hear anything about dad. Nobody cares what dad thinks. And the baby, nobody seems to really care what the baby thinks either.
Right. It's like the baby is just this like passive thing in the experience, when it's like that is the whole center of the experience. It's the baby coming into the world.
Well, and it's a baby. Like, it's a baby. It always blows my mind how I see men and women, especially women, especially moms, who are so protective of their babies. Like, they're just like, they won't even let their bare feet touch the ground because, a rock might hurt my baby's toe. Like, they're just so protective of every little thing. And, please don't, cause my baby any stress whatsoever.
Yeah, like worried about every little thing, worried about germs, worried about, but yeah, continue.
Well, yeah, during the birth experience, they'll accept all manner, any kind of insane brutality. Just, I don't know what else to call it but brutality. The handling of their baby, and brutality to themselves too, of course. But just the baby. I mean, gosh, a forceps delivery. So many people, you see people all the time, and they have like a droopy eye, a little scar on the side of their face, and that's a result of permanent damage due to a forceps delivery. Like, it's so common, and that has got to be such an insanely painful experience for the baby. I mean, birth is no walk in the park in the first place. And now you're sticking, metal implements, smashing the baby's head.
Yeah, another common thing that is used is this internal fetal monitor that they claim doesn't hurt the baby at all, but it's literally a
corkscrew
with a metal corkscrew that they screw into the baby's scalp. And leave it there for the duration of the labor.
Yeah, that's the fetal monitor. It's not common. It's like totally standard procedure.
And yeah, and I've heard women say, I asked my doctor, if they would hurt him, and they said no, they won't notice. And it's like, how can they say that? How can they decide that?
And why would you ask that? Like, would you screw a screw into your baby's head once it comes out?
Well,
grab a screwdriver and just screw a screw right in your baby's head. Go ahead.
Are totally unaware when, it just blindsides them. They're in labor and, we got to do an internal monitor. And then they don't tell them that it's actually going to screw into their head. So that's one of so many painful, awful things that they do.
And so why is that okay? Why is it okay with you moms? Why is it okay with you dads? Like, why is that okay? Why do you think that's just fine? Of course, the excuse is, well, it's because it's necessary for the safety of the baby. Well, you're talking to people we've had 10 babies at home now, so that argument is completely lost on us. No, it's not necessary. None of those things they do are necessary. And so, from our perspective, why in the world would you allow such brutality to be, enacted upon your baby, newborn, barely born baby? It's child abuse.
Yeah, people are just conditioned to allow medical professionals to do, whatever they deem is necessary. And it's it's really a I don't know what the word is.
Well, it's a big scam is what it is. You know, OBGYNs are like one of the top paid professions in the United States right now. And why are they so well paid? Oh, it's because they deliver your babies. No, it's because they cause so many problems. Because the reason, the only way their pay gets so high is because of complications.
And
And it,
every single intervention that they add to the delivery racks up however much money they make. So anything that they can see, oh, I could do this, or I should do this, they're going to do everything that they possibly can, because every intervention that they add makes them more money.
yeah, and they do this. And now I know people are going to protest, especially any OBGYNs that are out there that might be listening are going to protest because it's like, no, I got into this because I want to help people. I care about people. I care about babies. And I know that's true. Like anyone who gets into the medical profession, for the most part, is because you care about people. You want to help people. The problem is that then you go through this 8 years of medical
Brainwashing.
brainwashing. I don't know what a better term is, where they teach you all the protocols and the things that you are expected and absolutely required to follow the protocol, and they teach you why it's necessary and why it's in the best interest of the baby and why it's in the best interest of the mom, and they pull out all the studies that they use to back up their premise. And so you come out of there, these medical professionals come out of that many years and years and years of brainwashing with the promise of a high paycheck as long as they do what they've been told and follow the protocol that they've been taught. So even though they still want to help you and they're still trying to do what's best, but they've been heavily influenced as to what is best. And it's more than influence. Like I said, it's required. They're absolutely required to do a whole host of things
Yeah.
that are just brutal and unnecessary and harmful. It's just the way it is. Like it's the truth.
And it's a business. It is a business, and it's going to operate like a business.
I don't even know how much it costs to have a baby. If you're lucky enough to get in and out of there without any interventions whatsoever, which means you had no reason to be there, it's still going to cost you probably $30,000. And everything that they do on top of that, if they have to give you an IV, which they always do, that's going to, that's probably, I shouldn't even throw out numbers because I don't know, but it's ridiculous. Ask anyone who's had a baby what their bill was when they came out. It's tens of, even into the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, it's really ridiculous. I have no idea on the numbers either, but yeah, it's so beyond like my grasp, because it's just this natural process that people have been doing for all of time. That's why we're even here today, is because of babies being born. That's how life has continued. And it's only the past 100 years or so that the birth has become so medicalized. And it's just ridiculous, and things need to change.
Yeah, so for all the things you're considering about where you're going to have your baby or your next baby or whatever, and how terrible your last experience was, I know a number of you probably had your baby in the hospital already previously, and that's why you're considering this radical or alternative path. because you know that was horrible. But have you ever taken the time, or have you really taken the time? I encourage you to take the time to look at all the horrible things you went through, okay? And stop thinking about your perspective for a minute and pretend that you are your baby. Pretend that you're an innocent child, a baby, coming into the world for the first time and experiencing all those things. And anything that you've been told about, oh, the baby doesn't feel it or doesn't remember, the subconscious impressions of trauma are well documented. So, and to be told, oh, the baby doesn't feel anything, you heard the screams. And you know the difference, over time, you know the difference between the real pain scream and just the uncomfortable scream. That was the pain scream. That was like the blood curdling, horrible in pain scream that you heard going on extended amounts of time. Do you remember that?
Well,
think about that.
In the case of like an internal monitor, you're not going to hear the baby cry. You're not going to see the terror on its face,
Look, if you're wondering what it feels like, have your husband grab the wine corkscrew and screw it into your head.
Oh my goodness.
Okay? Or get a drill and just get a little screw. Just the thinnest screw they sell at the hardware store. Get that one and have them drill it into your head. See how that feels. It's great. You'll love it. And ditto that to any and all of the other procedures that they did to your baby.
Even the most like straightforward birth in the hospital where like the mom just feels like, a lot of times I see, women have a good hospital experience and they're like, it was fine. Like, because they got numbed and they didn't really feel anything. And
great for you.
But then I always think, well, okay, you were fine with everything, but what about your baby? Like, did you think about like how, those drugs are going to affect them and how like they affect their ability to take their first breaths or breastfeed, or, like babies that are born with drugs in their system have such a more difficult time after birth.
There's just so many things. And everyone uses the reasoning. To me, it's just an excuse of, well, we're choosing this or we chose that because we were concerned for the best possible outcome for our baby. Well, really? I mean, honestly, think about it. Because I watched all 10 of my babies be born and none of them had to go through any trauma or any brutality whatsoever. And no, okay, well, as always, disclaimer, we're not medical professionals. We have zero medical training. Don't listen to us thinking that you're getting advice from medical professionals, because we are not that. We're just giving our opinions and our observations of what actually happened in our own birth experiences. And our babies were born in all kinds of experiences, from quick births to births that lasted for days, labors that lasted for days. We had breech, we had cords around the neck, we had all kinds of things. So no, it wasn't just, oh, that's probably one of these women who just goes into labor and 5 minutes later the baby pops out. No, not at all.
No.
We never, as a matter of fact, we never had that. That's one thing we never had. And so all kinds of experiences, but none of them involved brutality to my wife or brutality to our baby. Not a single once, not a single time. And I'm really thankful and grateful for that. I'm proud of that, because that was a decision that we made to take the responsibility in our own hands. And the beautiful birth experiences that we had are a result of that decision to take responsibility. I had to make that decision. My wife had to make that decision. And if you make that decision, I encourage you to consider making that decision. Because I don't know, well, we've met a lot of people in our life. Okay, we haven't met the entire world, obviously, but we've met a lot of people who've had babies, and I've never met someone who's made that decision that regretted it. And I've met lots of people who had horrible hospital births. As a matter of fact, everyone I know who had a baby in a hospital, it was horrible. Even when they don't realize it, they're like, "Oh no, it was great," and then they proceed to tell me what it was like, and I'm like, "Yeah, that's just, it makes me nauseous to think about what they went through and what their baby, the pain, physical pain and trauma that their baby went through in this birth that they considered just fine or even beautiful." There's nothing beautiful about child abuse. And I don't apologize for being harsh. I'm harsh because, frankly, it pisses me off.
Well, I think that people that were happy with their hospital birth experience aren't going to be considering it a home birth, and they're probably not listening.
Right,
to
they're
this,
probably
so.
not even listening. So, yeah,
That's not who
totally
we're talking
true.
to.
Totally.
If you're listening to this, it's probably because you're wanting a better experience for yourself and or your baby, and that's why we brought up this topic, is because I think everybody who's having a baby should consider their baby's experience of the birth.
Yeah.
And
first and foremost, like above all.
That was really, really it for me. Like, I wasn't thinking about myself really. I was thinking about like my baby. Like, I wanted to protect my baby, and I didn't, all those things that they do in the hospital, I was like, no, I'm not gonna let anybody do that to my baby. It's like, so.
Yeah, and I hear you right now. I'm gonna stop you. I'm talking to you who's saying, well, no, you've got to take care of yourself first. If you don't take care of yourself first, then you can't take care of anybody. Okay, I'm talking to you. This is taking care of yourself first. Okay, because it's not like Celeste isn't saying, oh, well, I considered my baby first and I didn't care what happened to me. No, it was the absolute best possible experience that could possibly happen for Celeste.
Yeah, it was definitely.
So it's not a give and take, like, oh, you make it good for your baby, but you suffer because it's so painful. No, that's not what we're talking about. It's exactly the opposite of that. I mean, if you go in a hospital, you're going to suffer and your baby's going to suffer, and that's a guarantee. That's an absolute guarantee, unless you win the lottery and you're one of those women who walks into the hospital and the baby falls out before the nurse can even get in the room. In which case, obviously, you didn't need to be there, did you? And if you're anything other than that woman, which is rare, you will be brutalized, you will be tortured, and so will your baby. And I use those words very literally. It's just the way it is, and that is the way it is. Period. Like it or not. So, that's our perspective.
Yep. From
experience. So, another joyful, enlightening podcast from Rahelios and Celeste. If you want more, go to our website, birthprotectors.com. You can hear more joyful, enlightening podcasts about the horrors of hospital birth. Because we didn't have any, and we're so grateful for that, and so thankful.
We should probably share more of our birth stories, and we will at some point.
Yep. People, the fact is people respond more to avoiding pain than they do to going towards pleasure. So, and our main goal here is to hopefully save some women and babies from the torture and allow them to have the opportunity for a beautiful birth experience. And all you have to do is take it into your own hands. Take responsibility, have courage, have faith in the natural process, in your body, and in your female instinct and your male instinct, and your love as a couple to guide you through what would be the most empowering experience for your family and your relationship that you'll ever have. Or you could just throw it down the toilet and go to the hospital. So, up to you. Visit us at birthprotectors.com. please sign up for our email list. Leave us comments. There's a contact form there. Ask any questions. We'd love to hear your questions. We'll answer them. And hope you enjoy.
Till next time.